All right, all right, all right. Happy Friday. How's everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing
Great.
great. So, welcome to After Dark Commentary and Reactions. Jeb Beecham, Jake Thomas, Stephen Willis join me. I'm Corey Burton. Together, we join forces to not only give you After Dark commentary and reactions. You can check out our Wednesday night show, SEC After Dark. You can see Steve on Locked On Ole Miss, Jake Tide Talk Sports, and me Bleav In Georgia Dawgs.
Tide Talk Live.
That's a habit of mine. Tide Talk Live. It's a habit of mine. I apologize, Jake. Tide Talk Live, and then Jeb is going to be our movie buff here.
Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually,
I'm ready for the Beastmaster.
Yes.
First episode, Beastmaster. So we are here today to give you the 1923 rewatch. If you haven't seen the first two episodes, please go back and check those out. Or if you want to rewatch episodes 1 and 2 and then rewatch our commentary from those episodes, feel free to catch up there. But this is episode 3. The war is coming home. So Jeb, what's happening, man?
All right. This episode, just to help everybody remember, opens up with on the Yellowstone Ranch with the Duttons. These are the 3 that are on the ranch. So Jacob, John, and Jack. All returning back from their little adventure in the last episode. Their women are all waiting on them. Everybody's real happy to see everybody. They all run out, greet each other. It's a wonderful time. Nice little feel good moment in the episode. And then Kara, Jacob's wife, talks to him, says that she was a little worried on this one, had a bad feeling, and Jacob has to let her know at that point. Well, some stuff kind of went down this life, while we were out there. So we're all going to have to go to town tomorrow and deal with this. So that's where they start the episode, and then they kind of juxtapose it with Banner Creighton, I believe is his name, the one sheep herder that actually lived through the lynching, also making it back to his home where he meets his wife and son, and he is in a considerably worse mood than the Duttons are when they make it home. He's walked so long that his feet are bloody, and he basically tells his son when he first gets there, go round up people we know. And that's all we get right there. So then
Foreshadowing.
Yeah, a little bit of foreshadowing, but we don't know what's happening on that. So then we cut back to the Duttons now having gone to Bozeman, I believe is where they are now, the town that's nearby. It's obviously a long enough ride that we learn, you either have to plan when you're leaving or not leave for the night. But there, Jacob Dutton is meeting with I believe it's the sheriff. Is that who that guy is? The sheriff?
Yeah, it's the sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't remember them specifically saying what he did. I just kind of assumed he was the sheriff. But anyway, he meets up with him to let him know what happened on the cattle drive. And the sheriff, wants to get on to him for not bringing him back for a trial, which is, by the way, what I predicted they would do. But Jacob Dutton pretty much points out that if they had, a mob would have just come in there and lynched him anyway, as that apparently tended to happen back then. So he was just saving everybody the trouble and doing it on his own. And the sheriff pretty much just agreed with him, and they let it go. So that's basically all that's going to happen legally with the fact that they just killed several people on this drive.
And the sheriff is the cop from Terminator 2, which is hilarious.
Robert Pattinson, something like that. What's his name?
Yeah.
Which is, that's pretty funny. So no, it pretty much just is it happened, get over it, move on with your life kind of thing. As far as the law is concerned, they do decide to stay in town overnight because they can't really make it back in time before dark. So then we get to see a fun little thing with the youngest Jake and his fiance going out to an actual 1920 speakeasy where you had to give a passcode to get in and that type of thing. So this is all during Prohibition, I guess. And was that that's 2030? So yeah, so that's kind of a fun little time. So that ends that little part of the first part of the episode. It's just kind of a happy-go-lucky time for pretty much everybody. And then we shoot over to Africa, and we pick up with Spencer and the Alexandra, the woman he's picked up that is ran off from her fiance and decided to join him on this adventure to kill the spotted hyena. He tells her that that's when he feels most alive is when he's hunting, so she wants to go and feel that as well. And they get there. They do talk a little bit about the hyena. It turns out it's kind of an odd case because it doesn't really hunt the way anybody expects. It hunts both lions and like leopards. So it just whatever it has to do to make its kill. And it doesn't tend to eat its victims very much. It really just seems to be killing for fun. But we don't see the hyena in this one. So that's just a little bit of maybe foreshadowing of what's going to happen when they do run into it. But for now, he decides to take Alexandra out and actually show her the savannah. And they go out and have like picnic, make love, have all kinds of fun. And when they're driving back, they stop to let a herd of elephants go by. And while in there, they talk about their future. And Spencer, apparently not one to really waste time, decides that he wants to get married. So Alexandra agrees, and it looks like they're engaged at this point. But while they're doing that, one of the bull elephants decides to turn around and come at him. Apparently he thinks they're encroaching on his space a little bit. And he attacks the car, knocks it over, nearly smashes them. Spencer has to actually shoot the elephant to stop them from being trampled to death, which, it's nice that he saves their life at that point, but then they realize they have no car. It's almost time, almost nighttime, and they just left, a several 100-pound bag of meat on the side of the road next to them. So they're a little afraid of what to do next. They can't really find anywhere to go, so they go up a tree, and unfortunately, they find the tallest one they can, but it's not a very tall tree. So basically, the plan is to keep quiet, hope to God whatever comes to eat this thing doesn't notice they're up there, which, as you can imagine, doesn't work great. A pride of lions comes, finds the meat first, and then after that, a cackle of hyenas. By the way, y'all know it's called a cackle. Anyway, cackle of hyenas shows up after that to harass the lions and try to get themselves some of the meat. And during that interaction, for some reason, Alexandra feels like it's necessary to scream a lot, which attracts the attention of the lions, who, as it turns out, can climb trees. So they decide to ignore the elephant that's right there to eat, ignore the hyenas that are nipping at their heels, and go after the humans, which makes some sense, I guess. So they come after him. Spencer's shooting at him, trying to keep him away. It definitely looks like that this is going to be kind of the end for him, if you didn't know they were main characters of the show. But right as all this is going down, apparently a search party has come looking for him from town. Several cars, finds them, is able to run off the animals, and rescues them. On the way back, you've learned that Alexandra is not quite as excited about this life as she thought she would be, but she's also not ready to give up on Spencer, which is impressive. I thought she'd just leave at that point, but no, she wants him to find another job, which he agrees to. But that's how we end the Africa version of this story. So then we shoot back to Yellowstone, and it's now the next day after our whole night with the speakeasy and having fun in town. And everybody's getting ready to leave. The Cowboys, the big posse of them go first to kind of clear the way and head home. And then there's a wagon taking the two wives and the fiance. And, of course, the Duttons ride with the wagon. So Jacob, John, and Jake. No.
Jack.
I cannot get that right for some reason. Jacob, John, and Jack all ride with the wagon, which turns out to be kind of a mistake at this point because the Cowboys do not see people hiding in the trees and go on by. And these people in the trees decide to ambush the wagon, start shooting at them. Of course, as you would expect, mostly just hit the women who aren't moving, not the guys on horses who are running around. So the fiance actually gets hit first. And then Jack gets hit trying to get to the fiance and get her to cover. The rest of them all take cover, but it's not a very good position. Everybody's advancing on them. It looks pretty bad. And then Banner Creighton shows up, the street herder, in a car and pulls out a Tommy gun and just unloads on them, and mostly on Jacob, Harrison Ford's character, and his son John. And he does end up killing John.
Nephew John.
Nephew John. He does end up killing John, injures Jacob pretty badly, of course. But by that point, the Cowboys have heard the shooting and have come back, so they go in and rout them all and run them off. Banner drives away. It sounded like most of the others pretty much died, so this wasn't a great ambush attempt by them. There were at least a dozen of them, and I think most of them were dead. One got away running, but Kara, Helen Mirren's character, saw that and chased him down and killed him. So she was a little angry about the whole ambush thing. So they get everybody back. Like I said, John's dead. Jacob is injured badly. They bring in a doctor. He does not want anybody from town to know about this. He don't want to go to the hospital because he knows, and this is a running theme through Yellowstone, so it becomes a running theme now too, that people will basically come after the ranch if they smell weakness. And so he's got to find a way to keep the ranch, and whether he lives or not, he wants the ranch to stay in the Dutton name. So Kara decides to go out and write a letter to Spencer asking him to come home, and basically tells him what happened, tells him that his brother John is dead, that his uncle is probably about to die, his nephew is injured, will probably live, but still he's going to need help. And so it's kind of coming at a fortuitous time. It looks like Spencer's going to be looking for another job anyway. Now he's got to go home and save his ranch, in which he calls the war that's come home to the ranch. And that's how it is.
All right. So, like I said, we were presented by Dead Soxy. That's a great recap, Jeb. We were presented by Dead Soxy. It is a Ole Miss NIL partnership, but they don't offer just Ole Miss socks. You can buy a variety of unique designs. You can buy Alabama socks, Georgia socks, Tennessee socks, probably Arkansas socks, probably Texas socks, probably, and then some just random designs that are just cool looking. So Dead Soxy has whatever you need in the sock game to up your sock game. So if you wanna go back to school looking fresh, Dead Soxy is the place for you. So visit deadsoxy.com, type in that promo code
After Dark,
and you will get 25% off of your purchase. So deadsoxy.com, as always, up your sock game and stay Soxy. That was a tongue twister there for me, apparently. So, yeah, man, this episode was wall to wall, man. We did not see the rainwater arc in this episode, which I was curious about. But watching, I guess they extended the Dutton conflict and things like that. That was, to go into town. They discovered the washing machine in the refrigerator for the first time.
Yeah.
I remember that kind of jumped out at me. The speakeasy scene, we saw our first gratuity, so that was fun. But
also, somebody was drinking bee's knees.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever somebody said
drink.
that's the bee's knees,
There you go.
there we go. I learned something new there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the
They wanted to know
bee's
what all the fancy people were drinking nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Back then.
So, but yeah, I mean, what jumped out to me about the whole conflict? You knew it was brewing. I kind of predicted that something would happen. I don't know if the sheriffs would get involved, if there'd be some public trial or whatever, but I knew some sort of retaliation would be in order. I was not ready for Jacob Dutton and John Dutton to get hit.
Yeah, and I was surprised because I was surprised at how cavalier the sheriff was about it. Just didn't really he understood why they did it. And he was fine with it, and it just moved along. But I guess that's why Banner Creighton. I mean, he would have known that at the time. I guess that's why he didn't bother going back to the police or anything. He knew what was going to happen. They weren't going to care, so he decided they took the law into their own hands. I'll take the law into my own hands. But
He did.
yeah, I was going to say it didn't seem to be very effective at first, but that Tommy gun helped.
Now, funny story. Back in December, I was at my aunt and uncle's house down in Georgia for a party, like an engagement party, and I was staying with them, and they were watching the show. I didn't know what it was at the time, but they were watching this episode that night, and I came in on the part where Helen Mirren was shooting the guy. I was like, "Holy crap, that's Helen Mirren with a double barrel shotgun!" Just shoot. I was like, "Okay, whatever this show is, I might be in." Little did I know that I would actually be in on the show.
That scene actually happens at the very beginning of the show, so it finally ties in. So that was pretty cool, because I was wondering, I was like, okay, when does that scene actually come into play in these episodes? So
yeah, I'm surprised I wasn't near the end of the series or something. But no, they went ahead and grabbed it, and I like that. They must have agreed with you that it's a powerful scene. Everybody wanted to see Helen Mirren unloading on somebody with a shotgun. So
yeah,
that's called a hook, boys. That's called a hook.
That's an attention grabber.
They got my attention there, but I did not know that. Spencer just keeps skirting by. First the leopard, now the pride of lions, the elephant. It's just
the funniest thing in that whole sequence there was after they get saved and right before they come down the tree, he's like, take my fiance first, and then he looks at Alexandra and says, if you still want to marry me, and she's like, we'll have to talk about that later.
Talk about that in the car.
Yeah.
She has another one that I enjoyed, or he did, where she said, she said, "You're gonna have to find a new job. I can't handle this." And he was like, "That wasn't my job. That was just a picnic."
Yeah.
That's just Africa. So.
Yeah.
Because they weren't out there hunting at that point, and I don't know at this point if he's deciding to quit that they'll ever see the hyena. That just may be a kind of a MacGuffin thing. We never get around to it, but who knows?
Yeah.
The one thing that started in this episode that I don't think you guys picked up on is that Alex likes to screw with Spencer. And she likes to make him feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like he comes out to see the footprints and he asks about the nickname, and it's just in such a ridiculous way. She's messing with him over and over again, and then decides to take it a step further. It's like, I won't hold my breath for a proposal if you're going to do that, just making fun of him. Then Spencer just completely fires back. It's like, okay, you want to play this game? Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, we'll do it. And in a lot of ways, they kind of spin each other up, but they're also kind of perfect for each other as well. They're probably two sides of the same coin a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, at this point, if spinning him out in a tree and nearly dying, she's still okay with being around him, and this is probably going to work out okay.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much what it's going to be like if he comes back to the Yellowstone. I mean, they're always constantly fighting. At least they were in Yellowstone, the show, so I'm assuming they will be in this one too. Obviously, they still got the Banner Creighton out there somewhere with a Tommy gun.
Yeah, this thing ain't over yet.
Yeah.
And early prediction, I think they're going to save Jacob.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's some forked. I mean, he's got to. I guess he doesn't have to, but I wouldn't be surprised if he died at some point during the show. But you're right; it seems kind of early for that. So. Yeah.
I mean, other movies have had strange twists before, so I mean, this could be a twist.
They're gonna save him, and just like it's gonna be one of those like maybe episode 4 it lingers, maybe we don't know, and then all of a sudden we find out he's saved.
At least comes back for a little while, yeah.
Oh. And the next episode, by the way, I think we might meet the big bad in the next episode.
Okay.
It's not Banner Creighton?
No.
It's not Spencer, because dude has fought off the most badass animals of all time.
Yeah.
He's my favorite character so far.
Spencer's awesome. He's amazing. He's not done.
Yeah. The Africa arc has been really, really good so far, for sure.
A charging, stampeding elephant, a leopard, and now a pride of lions.
And honestly, a letter from his aunt probably wouldn't get there for a while. So we might get to see a conclusion to the hyena situation too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeb, I was going to bring that up and my prediction for the next show, but since you went ahead and brought it up, that's what I was going to say was, she just pen paper the letter. If he's in Africa and this was in Montana, this is going to be a while. It's probably going to be a while before he gets there. So what's going to happen beforehand before he can get there? Will there be more wars and stuff going on with Banner Creighton and all the sheep herders?
Yeah, and I mean, Alexander wants him to quit his job, and I don't know if he can just walk away in the middle of one. So, maybe that's his last time. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
I doubt he's going to just up and leave base camp. I just don't see that. That's not his personality.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they try and plan what his next move is actually going to be before they find out it's to go back home. But I'm curious what he thinks. Okay, what do I move to as the next job after this?
Yeah.
But what would be as dangerous, but not for her? I don't know.
Honestly, you get the feeling that whenever Spencer does get that letter, it does. At that point, it doesn't matter what's going on in Africa.
Yeah.
You would imagine family comes first. He
gets that letter. He's on the quickest thing out of Africa.
Yeah, not somebody just killed his brother. Yeah. I'm just curious how this is all going to interact with the Native American storyline, which wasn't even in this episode at all. But how do those connect? And that's what I'm curious to find out. Because I mean, we've only seen the reservation once, and that was when they were dropping off basically the sheep for him, which was nice. Mm-hmm. So they obviously have friendly relations with him.
In this first season, and I feel like I can say that there's not too much crossover between the Native American storyline and the Dutton storyline. Okay. So you're not going to be able to see exactly what's going to happen, and I don't even know what's going to happen because it's going to happen sometime in season 2 in the conclusion of the show.
And that was my curiosity. I don't know if this is mostly just a prequel to Yellowstone. I don't know if they were just going to have. I mean, there's a rainwater in Yellowstone, so if they're just showing maybe the past of how he got there, but not so much caring about interacting her with the Duttons, or if it actually is going to be some kind of big crossover That's what
and I forget what they said in Yellowstone, but it was Chief Rainwater, and he was the head of the tribe.
Yeah.
But he actually mentioned that when he was younger, he thought he was Mexican.
That's true. He didn't grow up with the tribe. You're right.
He didn't grow up with the tribe. He thought he was Mexican. He found out later on. So maybe this is
I forgot about that.
An origin story about how that happened.
Yeah, maybe Tiana never makes
about how he thought he was Mexican because she was not with the tribe either.
Yeah, she was gone. She was gone. Getting as
in
far
a
south
Christian-
as possible.
Yeah, she was.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. And I like I said, I don't know. This isn't a situation where I'm giving away spoilers. This honestly is just a theory type thing that I can talk about. And as this show goes on, I can interject more and more about my theories.
Well, in real life, that whole situation was really sad. So it wouldn't surprise me in the show if they kept it that way. She never really makes it home, connects much with her family.
Yeah.
I mean, that happened a lot, unfortunately. So, yeah. I hate to think there'd be no happy ending, but Yellowstone was never big on happy endings. So,
and the writer of the show also wrote Sicario.
not many happy endings in that either.
Yeah. So he's not somebody that does happy endings, it doesn't look like.
He's also on strike, so.
Well, yeah. Right.
Actually, he's not on strike because they paid him $750 trillion to do this. Specifically, his writers are on strike.
Yeah.
That's true. Somebody's on strike.
Yeah. He's sitting here trying to figure out how to conjugate a verb in his script to make it sound like it was from 1923, and the person that he's supposed to have that is an expert in that is on strike.
Well, Steve, it looks like you have a job opportunity because you're an expert in 1923 vocabulary.
No. That slang's too young for me.
Okay. Touche. Maybe 1883. That's more your speed.
1883, by the way. And eventually we might decide to do a rewatch on that. But they did the same thing where the introductory scene happened later on in the season. They did that as well. So the big scene that you see at the very beginning of the show happens in like episode 6.
Huh. Well, I know we just going to randomly shift the gears here. I know we talked about this a little bit beforehand. Corey, you may not have been here when we were talking about it, but they did have a fun scene where when they went to Bozeman, they were walking down the street. They kind of ran into an electric salesman. He was selling a lot of different electrical appliances. I don't know if
Didn't I just say they discovered the washing machine and the refrigerator?
Yeah, several different appliances they could learn to use that would make their lives easier, and had a really interesting conversation about consumerism in America, which I found kind of enjoyable. Talking about how they would have to, take out money to pay for all this, and then they need to pay for the electricity every month. So basically, they're becoming slaves to big companies if they start buying all this stuff. It made me laugh a lot because that's pretty much what America was going to turn into after that. I mean, every country in the world, honestly. Yeah. Eventually. Is everybody having to basically have bills every month. And it kind of made me laugh to think about times when they didn't have bills every month because you had to pump your own water out of the well and nobody had electricity. And it was kind of crazy just to listen to him talk about it. It made me laugh a lot.
Conveniences.
Yeah.
One of the cool things I heard during that little sequence there was they was talking about that New York, or he said that New York, they had all those they had electricity, washing machines, and all that refrigerators already at that time period.
New York City.
Yeah. Like, wow.
I just hadn't made it to Montana.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, there's probably places in Mississippi that didn't have it. It wasn't very electrified at that point. But the major cities in the Northeast, that's the Thomas Edison type wars with electricity that happened at the turn of the century. We're talking.
And technology has advanced so much. And then we talk about things that change our lives all the time. It's hard to think about living through a time before there was internet, now that there's internet. But they were going through the same stuff back then. I mean, can you imagine the difference between no electricity and suddenly having electricity and all these appliances? I mean, it would have completely shifted their lives and how they did things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I always find it's very interesting, like the story of Nikola Tesla, who was competing with Thomas Edison about electricity. And a lot of his electrical ideas were actually superior to what Thomas Edison wanted to do. But Thomas Edison ended up being the one that won out. So a less technologically advanced idea won in the end. And he is the father of electricity and all of that stuff, and everybody puts him on a pedestal, when the thing that really came down is they figured out how to make money off of what Thomas Edison had, and they didn't figure out how to do it on what Nikola Tesla wanted to do. And because the one couldn't make money off of it, the other one won.
Mm-hmm. And Tesla, I mean, he wasn't alive for it, but he did end up winning the end in some things, because he's the one that came up with alternating current, and then it was Thomas Edison who wanted to use direct current, and alternating current is definitely what we use now. So it was superior, but at the time it wasn't seen that way because Tesla wasn't. He didn't know how to do marketing. He just didn't understand it. You gotta love Thomas Edison. That's where you get a famous. There's the famous old video it's hard to find, but it's a real one, where they actually electrify an elephant and kill it, and they do it using his alternating current as a propaganda thing to show how dangerous it was and how you should stick with direct current because it's much better. And of course, that was complete crap. But Edison was great at propaganda. He was good at marketing.
Yeah. And Edison decided they made it to where alternating current was the standard for electric chairs.
Yeah. But in the end, it was so much better than direct current that we all use alternating current now.
Yeah.
And they had to admit it eventually. But
it
took a while.
It never really does. Whoever wins doesn't. The best product doesn't always win.
That's true.
Right.
That's true. And Thomas Edison is also the reason why Locked On Ole Miss is. He was the first marketer for Locked On Ole Miss. He had to retire, but he was.
Hey, my motto on Locked On Ole Miss is: if you will not talk about your own stuff, if you will not self-promote, do not be surprised if other people will not either.
Right. That's a good point. But,
so that's the reason I just want to be everywhere.
I don't want to. I just want to bang on my drum all day. This episode was super intense. I put it in our group chat. This episode was intense.
Yeah.
It's just the whole time. Even when they're in Bozeman, you see a little bit of foreshadowing where something's brewing. You're like, okay, this dude looks like the one dude that was just like watching them from afar.
Yeah.
And then rode off. I was like, okay, that's shady looking.
And I like how the Duttons pretty much, like he pretty much, Jacob told the sheriffs that, there's no reason, like Jeb said, no reason to get a mob and lynch him because this is what's going on. I went ahead and did it. It's kind of like the sheriff. He has more power than the sheriff back in those days. It's kind of strange.
Well, and
which
you
is
see that
similar
again
to Yellowstone. Yeah,
I was gonna say you see that in Yellowstone, which is very odd. But being the livestock commissioner or whatever he is the most important job in that area because that's what runs their economy. So
that's true.
Yeah, he pretty much can dictate his terms. Now, I mean, he still has to answer to the law. Of course, in Yellowstone, it's set much more modern time, so there's a lot more oversight. Back then, apparently, just none.
Also, out on the frontier, you can't really.
Yeah, if you don't have electricity,
he's not
have people
worried about
wiring.
that.
Yeah, no.
After we watched the last episode of this season, there's 8 episodes in 1923. We're going to do 9 because we're going to do a whole episode just talking about what we think is coming.
Okay.
Nice. Just to sit down, and I can really participate in that one because like right now, I don't want to give away any spoilers to anybody that hadn't seen it.
Right.
But other than to say that 3 and 4 were 2 of my favorite episodes in the series. And you get to see, I think, the big bad appears in episode 4.
Yeah, 3 started off pretty easy going, but it ramped up pretty fast.
So we're gonna go ahead and do our predictions for episode 4.
Yes, predictions for episode 4. Go ahead.
I predict
Jake,
the big
kick
bad
it off.
shows up. Sorry, go ahead.
You want me to go ahead? I'll go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, go ahead. I
Yeah.
was joking.
No, you're good. We mentioned the penning the letter to Spencer, like we mentioned. It's going to take a while for it to get there. So what's going to happen in the meantime? I'm kind of curious to see that. And another thing, we've already seen how two of the women involved here, Spencer and Alexa, she don't like what he's doing. You got to remember, Jack's fiance didn't like what he was doing, so now she's been shot. So will that change her mindset going forward? Is like, I want you to get out of this, and we need to go get away and do her own thing, or is she still going to be part of that? That's what I want to see potentially maybe answered in episode 4. Who knows? Also, maybe the rainwater arc comes back into play. I still think that she either escapes or has a rebellion. We'll see if that happens in episode 4. And just what is the next that's going to happen at Yellowstone? Will Jacob survive? And we already know John's dead. So who's going to take John's place? Is it going to be Jack, or whenever Spencer comes in, will he be the next guy in charge? So we'll see how it plays out until Spencer gets there.
Yeah, I think Spencer is going. I think we're going to see the hyena. I think there's going to be a huge fight at the base camp between Alex and Spencer about like whether or not he's going to quit right then or he's going to finish the job. Mm-hmm. And this whole thing's going to play out where the guy that's paying him, the guides and everything, it's all going to play out. And then he's going to go on this hunt. And then she's going to say, okay, I'm going to go with you. And then we get another attack, and he's going to survive that too. The rainwater thing, I do think comes back in. I think she escapes, or has an attempt to escape. Maybe she gets caught. I don't know. I haven't thought further past that, but we're going to see an attempted escape, I think. And then with the whole Dutton Ranch situation, I think you're going to see the first part is the continuation of the medical scene where they're trying to revive. They're trying to get Jacob back in. They're trying to get the fiance back in as well. And you're going to see the fiance is going to be, she's going to be okay. And there's going to be there's going to be some pressure on Jack to maybe rethink his career. But I think by the time Spencer gets this letter, I either think we're going to see the hyena, or Spencer's going to get this letter before he goes out. Like some time is going to pass where they spend some time at base camp, and then he's going to get this letter. And it's going to make him rethink everything.
I honestly do not know what's going on with the Tiana Rainwater situation. I understand her wanting to break away and run off, and I get that, but she's in North Dakota. I'm not sure where she thinks she would go. And B, they've also shown us her grandmother looking for her, and they kind of spent a lot of time on that, and her trying to figure out a way to emancipate her basically and get her brought home and brought under her house rules. So I don't know if they're going to have her escape right away, or if they're going to try and play that angle a little more, where the grandmother maybe tries to make contact with her, and maybe she finds out for some reason that she can't be freed that way, or I don't know. And then maybe that's what draws her to finally trying to attempt to escape. Or maybe the grandmother does bring her back at least closer to home. I don't know. I'm really curious what's going to happen with that, because I really don't understand where they're going with that whole situation, other than just showing us how bad it was for Native Americans during that time period, which, I'm sure they can show us a lot worse than that. But we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that, because like I said, I don't know where they're going with it. I do think we're going to get at least another episode before Spencer knows it's time to head home, and maybe that is how they end the next episode, is him getting the letter. So then what's going to happen in Africa? I don't really have much different than what y'all are saying, so I'm going to go just completely a different direction for fun and say he does decide to just quit and they just take off and have adventures in Africa. Maybe the whole thing is about them trying to get back to the hotel, and she convinces him to come home to England, and he's got his whole next life lined up, and then the letter comes and just changes everything. But that's not really what I think is going to happen. But I agree with y'all. I think he's going to go hunting the hyena, honestly. And I'd be shocked if she agreed to go with him after all that. She definitely decided she didn't like having her life in peril, but at the same time, maybe it's one of those, I love you too much to be away from you for very long. I don't know. I don't think that would be worth my life, but maybe I just haven't been in that kind of love before.
Real quick, I'm sorry, Jeb.
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to. That reminded me. I was going to say something a while ago and I forgot. But to me, this is going to be an opportunity to whether you find out if she really loves him, or is she just using him for the name. Because of the name.
And I'm a little surprised that the scare with the lions and the hyenas did not scare off more than it did. Even if she didn't completely run away, she didn't seem really like. She was very shaken up by it, but she didn't seem phased in her desire to be with him at all. Right. And I was surprised by that. So yeah, it's. I mean, if that didn't do it, I don't know if getting nearly eaten by a hyena will. But
I know.
Again, maybe she gets eaten. Who knows? Well, that probably change her mind. But,
that would change somebody's mind for sure.
Be a hell of a plot twist.
Hey, yeah.
And then my bold prediction for back on the Yellowstone: Cara Dutton gets a washing machine.
No, okay.
She gets a washing machine and a Chevrolet.
She seemed intrigued. I'm just saying, she was intrigued.
She was.
Yeah. So we found the chore that she hates the most. That's what we got out of the episode.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
But no, I think Jacob Dutton will actually be okay in this next episode. I think he'll eventually get moving around. I'm curious if they're going to go on like a manhunt looking for Banner Creighton. It doesn't sound like too many other people are alive from that attack, so it shouldn't be too many people they need to go looking for. But he does have family he needs to look out for. I don't know if he decides to take them into hiding and run, and maybe that's what brings the big bad to town. Maybe is because they're basically scouring this whole area for this guy just to murder him, and word gets out. Or I don't know who he'd get word to really get anybody there after he turned a Tommy gun on people. He's kind of just as liable as they are at this point. So that's I'm curious who this big bad is, because if it's not the sheriff, who else would it be?
Right.
Maybe a hanging judge comes to town and wants to just hang everybody. But
Now, about plot twist.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
And after the first thing, they're going to try and figure out how to do this, and the real Jacob Dutton said no sheriff and everything. They're trying to remove any semblance that there was attack, there's a war happening, and they're trying to get rid of that. I think what we might have seen, and they're not really going to talk about, is I don't expect anybody to confirm this in season 1. But I think we just saw the origin story of the train station.
Oh, from Yellowstone, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the dumping pit. Well, and I was thinking about that actually while I was saying it. Who could the big bad be? And now I think about it, if it's anything like Yellowstone, the big bad is always somebody trying to take the ranch away. So it could end up just basically in a land war. And I know that sounds like it's not as exciting. Oh, we're just going to fight over who owns the land. But I'm telling you, Yellowstone does a great job with it. You are always fully invested in who owns that land and who's trying to take it away and why. And I don't know how they do that. And if they stick with the Yellowstone blueprint, that's what, to me, what the big bad would be somebody coming into town that has the money and the influence to fight this head on and try and take away that ranch, especially while Jacob Dutton is full of holes and laid up at home. So
that's where Spencer comes in.
Yeah. But I don't know that's what it'll be or anything, because I have no idea. I'm just saying if it sticks with the Yellowstone format, that's what it would be. But we'll see.
Yeah. And it'll be really interesting to see, because the Spencer Alex storyline's about to get nuts.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they already did the we're hunting one leopard and it turned out to be 2. So will this be we're hunting one hyena? It turns out to be a whole cackle. I don't know. I just wanted to say cackle again. Sorry.
Cackle. Use all these ACT words.
Yeah.
Cackle hyenas.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, the next episode, there's no real tribulation for Alex and Spencer, but after that, every episode something happens.
This just turns out to be a guy wearing a hyena head running around.
Because the writer of the show actually said he wanted Spencer's journey back to the Yellowstone to mirror Odysseus and from the Odyssey.
Oh, so it's going to take a long time and have all kinds of problems along the way.
Yes.
Okay.
Interesting.
So he might not even be back handling stuff at Yellowstone this season. The Odyssey took 10 years for them to get home, so I don't think it'll be that bad, but still.
Yeah. But something's always...
Took 10 years to read, too.
Oh, I love that book. Well, a long time ago. I haven't read that in years, but
Dope. Oh. It was written by Homer. Get it?
yeah.
Dope. Dope. All right, Corey, get us out of here, buddy.
All right, let's get out of here. We thank you for watching. We are After Dark commentary and reactions here. We do more than just SEC After Dark. We're going to do all kind of these things. We're invested in 1923 right now. We're in the Yellowstone franchise, so this is a lot of fun, but we'll do these as we continue to build this brand. If you like what you see, subscribe, hit that like button, hit that bell notification, subscribe to the channel, get on board, be a friend, tell a friend. Let's grow this thing. We are off the rails. That is our brand. So we're going to give you everything in between. We're going to go SEC football, 1923, old
sports movie reactions,
Indiana Jones, Flash reactions, YouTube shorts, hot takes, all kind of things from the four of us, plus Derek Vandegrift. And we're going to continue to grow this channel as we go. So I'm very, very excited for that. And all of you out there watching are to thank. So for Stephen Willis, Jake Thomas, and Jeb Beecham, I'm Corey Burton. Subscribe to After Dark, Bleav In Georgia Dawgs, Tide Talk Live, which is Jake Thomas, TTS, and Stacey Blackwood, Locked On Ole Miss, and then everything that Jeb does is through this channel. So if you subscribe to this channel, you will get a heavy dose of Jeb. So we thank you for watching. Like I said, we are After Dark commentary and reactions. This is the 1923 rewatch. Episode 3, The War is Coming Home, presented by Dead Soxy. We thank you for watching. Peace.